Hey everybody, Ryan with Rental Real Estate. Welcome to the first edition of our weekly YouTube videos that we're going to be doing on rental real estate market updates. So these are going to be market updates on the whole rental real estate industry. And the format of these is basically going to be, we're going to go through all the stories, we'll put links in the show notes, and then at the end we'll answer some questions from a previous video where you guys can ask anything pretty much related to rental real estate. So anything we cover on our website, more than welcome to ask. We'll try our best to answer it and help you guys out. So normally we're going to be going through whatever is interesting that particular week, but for this first video we're going to be going through the newsletter that we just sent out. If you're not subscribed to it, we'd highly recommend it. It's only once a month, no spam, nothing like that, really concise. We cover each asset class and the top stories in there, as well as interest rates and interesting products, a few other things like that. So we're going to be using this for the template for the first video to kind of go through and give you guys a taste of kind of some of the stories that we look at. But going forward in other videos, we'll be kind of zeroing in on what's going in that specific week. So we'll jump in here to the first one. And for the first one, we got single family. So really interesting story that I found in single family was that the nation's largest single family landlord, Invitation Homes, they just took on 3,000 more houses as their, I think it was an investment company, called Nuveen. So Nuveen basically stepping away from from managing their single family rental business. And the takeaway I got from this is that Nuveen probably realized how hard it is to manage 3,000 single family rentals, and Invitation might be kind of opening up this new service line where they can start taking on these huge chunks from these investment portfolios. So pretty interesting, I think. I see Invitation trucks all the time on the freeway. I'm here in Texas, and they're always are buzzing around in their like service trucks. So they must be doing something right, to be making moves like this. First interesting single family story. Second is there's this new home builder scam that's going on. Not home builders, but basically scammers are targeting home builder inventory, and they're basically kind of going through the self-guided tours and getting access to that, then passing along the codes and marketing the property for rent, trying to get deposits out of people, things like that. So just something to keep in mind that's going on in the single family world. Moving on to multifamily, we got the biggest multifamily deal of the year. Blackstone acquires AIR Communities for $10 billion. Blackstone's been buying up tons of portfolios, I think since for a while. And the interesting thing about this is that some people are speculating maybe this could be a sign that the multifamily market valuations are maybe bottoming out. So we'll kind of have to maybe see how this bet plays out, but still interesting and still significant nonetheless. Moving on to another interesting multifamily story. Former WeWork CEO launched his own multifamily apartment brand called Flow. And it's basically kind of like the same thing with WeWork, but now he's kind of applying it to multifamily. So I thought it's pretty interesting, doing things like leveraging technology, community, all those kind of buzzwords he used in WeWork. So we'll see how it plays out. WeWork is, depending, if you're a consumer, it's probably great. It definitely revolutionized the whole co-working industry. But if you're an investor, kind of looking at his business practices, how safe would you feel putting your money with this guy? We're not sure. So moving on to commercial, interesting story. So I was born and raised in California, very familiar with the store. If you're from California or any other places where they exist or did exist, you will be familiar with it. The beloved 99-cent store is closing down, and they're citing inflation and theft as one of the reasons. Not sure who would want to be stealing things for 99 cents, but hey, tough times right now. When I was young, everything was really 99 cents in there. And over time, they kind of went to like $1.99, $2.99. I haven't been in there in years, but maybe they got things in there for $5.99 now. But basically, they're throwing in the towel and moving on. And I think it's just a sign of the times that things for $1 is definitely not $1 anymore. And maybe we'll see a new business model pop up where it's the $2 store or something like that. But moving on to vacation rentals, VRBO, however you pronounce it, they announced their top 2024 U.S. vacation rentals for the year. If you're in the vacation rental space, it'd be interesting to check out what these guys are doing, what each one of these is. There's one in Texas, Georgia, Arizona, Florida, Massachusetts. So it'd be interesting to really see kind of what top guys are really doing, or girls. And who knows, maybe if you want to try one out, try staying in one. Check it out and see. It'd be cool. I'll maybe put these on my list if I ever in the area. Let's see, moving down to marketing. So if you've been following real estate news, the whole National Association of Realtors, their huge lawsuit that came out, and it's all kind of pointing to the end of the whole 6% commission for residential property sales. This story that I found interesting is that on top of that, there's maybe now the U.S. Justice Department might also be reopening a probe from 2020 that basically kind of keeps looking deeper into their commission practices or something along those lines. So the takeaway I get from this is that things already weren't looking good for National Association of Realtors, and then this happens as well. So it's just not pointing to a good direction of how all this is going to end. So it'll be something interesting to keep in mind. I know a lot of people that I talk to in the real estate space, in the residential space at least, they're all kind of watching this to see where it's going to go. So stories like this point to the fact that it's maybe not going in that good of a direction. Construction. So for construction, Home Depot made its largest acquisition in the company history, a company called SRS Distribution, for $18 billion. And SRS kind of focused more on material suppliers, things like that, not necessarily like the consumer weekend warriors that go into Home Depot. The takeaway I get from this is that Home Depot maybe already sees, or they anticipate, like a softening U.S. consumer maybe spending in their store. So they're probably trying to bolster up their business for targeting pros and contractors. In fact, they actually openly said that's what they're trying to do. But it'll be interesting to see how this kind of plays out in terms of, does Home Depot kind of integrate this more into their stores, or is it like a separate kind of thing? But nevertheless, Home Depot is really expanding their blanket on the whole home improvement, construction material space, and this definitely cements it as well. So moving on to interesting. So just to explain, we do a section called interesting in the newsletter, and that basically covers a real estate story that's interesting. It doesn't have to relate to a specific asset class. It's just interesting, relevant. There's all kinds of stuff like that. That comes out every week, month. So the one that went on this recent newsletter was that it was actually about residential squatters. There's been all kinds of sensational stories on the news about squatters, and it's kind of crazy that some of this stuff is actually happening, where people lose their houses or they pay for years covering mortgages and stuff like that, while squatters just kind of get away with it. So not Florida. Florida is putting their foot down. The governor signed a bill that basically streamlines getting squatters out. I watched the video, his whole little speech on it, and the way he explains it, you just got to provide like some reasonable proof. You fill out a form, and then you get the sheriffs on board and get people out. There isn't this ambiguity that's going on in other states. So I thought it was a good sign of where things are going with it, and hopefully other states will consider and follow suit for landlords and property owners. So those are the top stories we got for this episode. Normally after this we go into some comments, answer them, but we'll save that for future videos. We'll get into it. So if you watched up to here, hopefully you enjoyed it. We'll see you next week for more. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter on rentalrealestate.com and check out our website. We're always welcome to feedback. If there's something you like, let us know you like it. Something you don't, either way, let us know. So thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.